Hello everybody and welcome back to the Vanquish playthrough. It's time to begin Act 4 and it's a reasonably interesting act. Reasonably short from what I remember.
Yeah. That's the Grand Coulee Dam. Take the elevator and head towards it.
Like, I mean, it's
Alright, you lead the way.
certainly nowhere near the lengths of the earlier acts. Which is, it's fine. It's quite fun. It's a nice change of pace in terms of the aesthetic, once again. Because you've got all these trees about, and it's really quite cool. Now, throughout the majority of the last part, I was talking about background design based on one of the blogs that PlatinumGames have done. But something that you might find actually quite interesting is that the type of space station that this is, in Vanquish, is actually an O'Neill cylinder. Sometimes also called an O'Neill colony. It was designed, proposed by American physicist Gerard K. O'Neill in his 1976 book, The High Frontier: Human Colonies in Space. Basically, the proposal is that an O'Neill cylinder would consist of two counter-rotating cylinders. The cylinders would rotate in opposite directions in order to cancel out any gyroscopic effects that would otherwise make it difficult to keep them aimed towards the sun. Each would be 5 miles in diameter and 20 miles long, connected at each end by a rod via a bearing system. They would rotate so as to provide artificial gravity via centrifugal force on their inner surfaces. So there's a lot of thought gone into it, but the general principle is having that cylinder, and obviously the designers of Vanquish got the whole cylindrical thing idea from Gundam, but Gundam got it from the O'Neill cylinder, or at least various other sources that have used this type of idea for a space station. I mean, you can also see an example of it in Babylon 5. Obviously, these are all variations on what you get with an O'Neill cylinder, but the general principle in terms of the design is the same, and it's really quite cool that that is a thing in the game. And seeing as we are dealing with the background stuff, and you've probably noticed quite a lot of it, there's an entire blog post about shrapnel, which was done by Takeo Kido, who was in charge of the special effects for Vanquish. So, by effects, those are something in-game that's rendered to represent explosions, crashes, fragments, smoke, fire, sparks, jets, lighting, bullets, shell casings, missiles, beams, etc. Whenever it's dealing with anything like that, that is the effects. At the beginning of the project, Shinji Mikami professed his absolute hatred for crawling along slowly in games, declaring, "We aren't going to let the player get away with hanging out in cover as long as he likes, so we're going to force them forwards," adding, "The enemies are robots, when you kill them they blow up, we're going to put as many of them on screen as we possibly can, especially the grunts." Those words made Kido feel like they were going to make a game that, graphically speaking, would be far flashier than pretty much all of the other human versus human shooters on the market. They wanted to have maximum amplitude, so when bullets are flying everywhere you'd want to say, "Somebody save me!" Explosions would be booming around you and shrapnel would be flying everywhere. Alright, so let's keep it simple and hit them over the head with volume. Let's make that the calling card for Vanquish's special effects. At the risk of causing a misunderstanding, they were going for quantity over quality, because in the end quantity would be quality when it came to the effect. Of course, if they just went simply with quantity, the graphics of the game would suffer, and that would mean abject failure, so they had to go for a baseline quality level and then open the valves. Kido figured that it would make things a bit hard on them, but they'd make do. Once the direction they were going was decided, actually doing the work was the easy part, because anytime you'd find yourself against a wall, you could just choose the path with more volume. However, if Kido just turned off the brain and increased the number of effects carelessly, the graphics and processing would both take a hit, and it wouldn't let them make the kind of action-heavy game they were after. So it'd be up to the programmers and designers in charge to show their skill/combined efforts in figuring out how to either make really expressive effects that were cheap to compute, or how to get the most out of the processing budget by making things as cool as possible. As a result of all that scheming and planning, they were able to put really substantial effects into Vanquish, and it appears that there is tons going on, both small and large, and in reality there is a ton going on. Things are flying all over the place. Gideon's probably the only one interested in that, at least they think so anyway. But the shrapnel in Vanquish is really good. You've got the huge slabs of concrete, but Kido definitely can't get enough of the small pulverised shrapnel flying all over the place, or the dirty stuff that's floating through the air. And that's pretty much that. I mean, it is impressive, because obviously you've got all the bullets flying everywhere, you've got the lasers. I mean, this section's pretty cool because you've got all of the grass in the area. Obviously you can quite tell that it is all, 2D, just spliced together to form a 3D model, and it's very, very, very jaggy. But considering the amount of effort that has had to go into, like, Sam's model, and the enemy models, and all the fragments, I think we can forgive them for slightly shoddy grass textures. Considering very few games have actually successfully managed to pull off realistic grass in gaming. We're getting to the point now where it's becoming much more feasible, and there are some truly impressive moments with grass in gaming at present. But at the time when Vanquish came out, which I mean is only 6 years ago, people were still struggling in that respect. So I think we can forgive a little bit of ness. Now, there's one voice actor who I have not really mentioned just yet. It's because we'd only just come across the character that he voices. But that is Fred Tattershaw, who is another of Platinum's most prolific voice actors. Because, I mean, he has done a lot of their games. So, if you just bear with me 1 second. So, he is Von Twirlenkiller, the Shamans, and Big Long Driller in Mad World. He is the voice of Daniel Grassi in Vanquish here.
Coming up from below.
He is James Shirogane and Chugi in The Wonderful 101. He is the voice of Valiant in Bayonetta 2. I think that pretty much does most, if not all, of his Platinum involvement, but that certainly makes him one of the most prolific voice actors for them. And he is glorious. He's also done many, 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 many other roles, like Magnus and Poseidon in Kid Icarus Uprising. He's done lots of games where he's like an additional voice, or what have you. He's like Bane in Batman Arkham Asylum. He's also done a lot of anime and feature films. I mean, he's done many additional voices for Disney projects. And in terms of animation, he's done the Hulk in numerous Marvel shows for many years now. And I think that's probably about all I'm going to be able to do for you today in terms of Fred Tattershaw, but he is another of those really, really excellent voice actors who's just incredibly prolific. Also, just before I do forget, he voiced Abyssian in Tales of Symphonia, because I have to get in my Tales of Symphonia references wherever I can. It's the same with, you know, My Wonderful 101 references and all that jazz.
Get out of the way.
Now,
Sam, hit that damn
what you need to do there is you need to reach a point where you can just hit that switch. You will lose those friends. Well, friends, I say. Comrades. It's probably a little bit more accurate.
Marines do business. Marines complete the mission. We don't get the luxury of choosing how. Corps and country come first.
Now, here's, as this mission ends, a little something that's me being a little bit ridiculous, and also just how language is so bizarre, because this is clearly the type of game that requires such linguistic appreciation. But it's the whole thing of cause. Because I can't remember, I think the first time I ever came across the word was actually Final Fantasy 13, which is a really weird way to come up against the word. But then looking at it, I'm just like, that's quite clearly corpse. And, I mean, considering it comes from the Latin corpus, for body, and, you know, corpse, that's automatically what my brain goes to, but that's simply not the case. Because, I mean, it's core, because it comes from the French, and obviously French, sometimes you're dropping things.
You really rolled out the welcome map. Must have a thing for VIP.
But its pronunciation's always baffled me. Always.
Easy for you to say.
Because it doesn't sound how it reads, and I'm never a huge fan of most words that do that. I mean, there's certain words where you can get it to work just fine, but this one, Also, we are now going to have to face down a buzzard, but this time it's going to be able to land. I believe there is an achievement for defeating the buzzard before it lands on the ground, so I mean, you've got to be very, 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 very on the ball to be able to pull that off. But it certainly is possible. I mean, if I'd perhaps used my rocket launchers, I could have brought it down relatively quickly, but it's landed now, so that's the end of that. It's really not a difficult fight. I was slightly worried that it would be, but it really is not. That said, we are going to come across a few rather horrendous challenges as we near the end of the game, because we are very, very close. I mean, we are only, well, there's only 4 parts left after this, and then the playthrough is done. I can remember back when the game came out, there was a whole kerfuffle over the length of the game, because there was talk from, I think it was like reviewers, the game was only about 4 hours long, and Platinum were just like, well, no, that's just wrong. It's not 4 hours long, it's longer than that. Ultimately, the game, it does feel like it sits around the 4 hour mark. The in-game clock will certainly show you around 4 hours, but that's not exactly correct. And if you will just bear with me 1 second, I'll be able to tell you exactly how long my run through of the game is, excluding, you know, all of those deaths. So, the footage that I have for Vanquish is about 5 hours, or 5.5 hours or so. If you take in... well, I'd say if you could take in absolutely everything, but then I start to get a little bit frustrated because then I've got multiple versions of the different parts, which is always helpful when you're dealing with this sort of stuff. So, my run through in total was probably about 6-7 hours worth. So, I mean, it's possible to beat Vanquish in under 4 hours. Definitely possible, you've just got to be very on the ball. However, if you are just playing it normally, or you aren't hugely excellent at shooters, then it's going to take you longer, obviously. And I think, considering the type of game Vanquish is, it's obviously very high octane, it keeps pushing you forward to the end. It's a game that works with a shorter runtime, because otherwise it outstays its welcome, because it's so high octane and high pace that there's just not enough here to be able to sustain a really, really long title. Also, we get to face down another Argus core, and I kind of died to this bugger. If you've still got your rocket launcher ammo, make sure to use it, because, I mean, as you can see, we have been able to get rid of the majority of the Argus core's health out in a very short amount of time. And obviously you're going to want to be able to do that, because otherwise you put yourself at greater risk of being screwed over by the damn thing. Also, I was just like, really? Why could you not just fire? Because I needed to reload, which is always a pain. And yes, the damn thing is going to transform. Yes, I'm pretty sure it's going to transform once we have defeated it once, because that's what all of the Argus cores do, because, yay. So, I mean, if you still haven't mastered the art of defeating the Argus cores, really you need to be getting on with it, because you are facing down so many of these guys that it's a waste if you haven't mastered it by this point. I mean, as you can see, I have already drastically improved in my Argus disposal methods, but I'm still certainly far from perfect when it comes to it, because just it's because of that whole being at shooters. My aim is just generally appalling. That said, once you've gotten it down, well, once you've gotten rid of both of its arms, it will launch an attack on you, and this is just a really fun quick time event. Doesn't actually completely help in the long run, because, you know, it's still alive, and also because I hadn't, you know, defeated these enemies, it was just like, ugh. Essentially, what you want to be doing with this section is getting into this area as soon as possible, defeating as many of the Gorgies as possible, and then dealing with the Argus. But since I died, I got spawned at the particular location I did, and so I had to make do. But in the end, it didn't end too badly, so it's all good. And there we go, that damn Argus is defeated. Although he has got a final death laser to try and screw me over. Because he just has to be a dick at the end.
This is gonna be fun.
Now I think at this point I was a bit like, I don't know what weapon I want to continue with. But considering I saw the rocket launcher here, I was like, aha! You will be mine. And also, let's just heal this guy up as well, because he's here. Why would we not want to heal him up? And also, I don't know why I needed to do it twice, but we got even more extra stuff, so I'll take it. And also, seeing as I think there are 2 rocket launchers in here, free upgrade! Hell yeah! Always like it when stuff like that happens, because then you don't have to really expend any effort, because you can just like go, oh, thank you very much, I'll take that. Oh, and look, another one! Ha ha! This couldn't have gone better. That said, I suspect things are probably going to go south rather quickly as soon as we enter this next area. Yeah, I had the passing suspicion that we are going to have to face down another Argus in this area, which it just why? It's like, why do you do this to me, game? Then you've got all these A2 spheres to deal with, you've got the guys in front of you. It's not too outstandingly horrendous. But yeah. At least we've got that rather cool city background to look at, which is really quite awesome. Oh! No, we don't have 2 Arguses to defeat. No, we have 2 beers. You're probably going to want 2 beers after this, actually. I mean, obviously, considering they have the one-hit kill move, yeah. This can be a very challenging fight. But thankfully I think we're going to do okay. It's just requiring a lot of frantic dodging. And trying desperately to not get caught on the environment. Because that would not have ended well for me if I'd stayed there. I would have been so monumentally screwed. There we go, that's 1 down, 1 more to go. Now that it is just the one, I think we should be pretty okay in dealing with him. Although that was a complete waste of an EMP emitter. Don't think I've ever quite managed to get the arc perfect. Although that one did work out. So I will happily take that. And seeing as we have some wonderful help from our partners throwing grenades, we'll be able to land the final blow on this damn thing eventually. Just got to make sure that we get our Ars mode back. And then there we go, he's done and dusted and we can move on. Hell yes.